I believe that I have improved greatly from the preliminary task. I've learned several much. Mostly, I think the biggest improvement is in camera shots. As you can see as the video is going past, there are a variety, even in the first couple seconds, more variety of shots than I did in the entire of my preliminary task. I utilized reverse shots, or no, sorry, I mean close up, um, point of view shots from inanimate objects. One shot there I did was the shot from the perspective of the phone. Also, the editing is much better, the pacing is much better, because in the preliminary task, it was much slower than my finished opening sequence. In the opening sequence, I had this whole section which is really fast paced and edited to match music. In my preliminary task, there was none such thing as trying to match to the music, because the music was very slow and very heavy. Also, admittedly, the themes present in both of my from the things present in my preliminary task are no longer present in this task. Like in my preliminary task, I was doing about bullying, and in this one, I'm doing about romantic comedy. The bullying, the preliminary task was really more dark and more slow, and more about how one person is overpowering the other, whilst in the opening sequence is more about how one person is attracted to one another and how mysterious this girl is. Also, apart from the camera shots, well, I do use a variety of camera shots. I use a lot more editing skills, such as match on action, and also I used some jump cuts as well to show the frantic nature of what's going on to help pacing wise. As well as this, the actors, I've used different actors, and also there's less continuity errors. Like one is coming up here. If I don't know if you just didn't see that, but there's a point in which where Max slams his hand on the locker, and then his hand magically reappears back on the locker. That was a continuity error which I found in my preliminary task. There are far less continuity errors in the actual opening sequence that I've done now, because I paid far more attention to continuity because of what I'd done in my preliminary task. Also, the camera work, I feel the camera movement was also changed drastically. There's a lot more movement. The camera does vary from stills to movement, like here in my opening sequence, the camera moves just there from the point of view of the bag, but how it does still try to remain still. It's this juxtaposition of movement and stillness that I really like. However, it was mainly very still in my preliminary task. I wasn't really that great at camera movement, because I thought that the camera movement would have been more shaky in the preliminary task if I tried to use a lot of movement. As well as this, the sound drastically changed in my final my final opening sequence compared to the preliminary task. The preliminary task only had one soundtrack going from start to finish with no added foley or background noise. In my opening sequence, there was a lot of added sound. It included background noise of the train, and at the train station, there is the music from SoundCloud, which I found, the royalty-free music from SoundCloud, which I found that helps. That the whole chase sequence, or not chase sequence, the whole running to the bus train station sequence is cut to make it give it that pace and energy that I needed. This wasn't present in the preliminary task. The sound was very a little factor. Also, however, in the preliminary task, I did use speaking. Well, I used the onboard mics on the camera to do the crying bit, which you're seeing now, where Dan's crying, the sound of him crying, and I found that the mics were really poor. Hence, why I chose not to opt for any sound whatsoever, mic sound coming from in my opening sequence, because I thought I didn't have the right equipment to produce a quality sound that would sound really good and really nice and how I liked it. Instead, the added sound, the sound effects, I thought really added a lot to it. Overall, the main improvement is definitely in editing, in movement of camera movement, in narrative storyline, because I think there's a better structure in my opening sequence as well than in my preliminary task, and also definitely there's a more improvement in camera angles. Thank you for listening.